Thanks, Marilyn. Thank you all for coming. I guess third time is a charm on this event. I think the fact that we tried twice before and landed Bruce the third time would suggest that we have persistence. It's the bulldog quality that I think typifies and symbolizes the BGA. For those of you who don't know much about the Better Government Association, this is not a day for a long explanation, just a brief one. It is a watchdog organization that shines a light on government and holds public officials accountable for a very simple reason. Better government is our right. We send our hard-earned tax dollars to public officials, and we are entitled to have those dollars spent in a way that I developed an acronym for how they need to be spent. It's the word faith. Government there must be fairness, accountability, integrity, transparency, and honesty. That's faith. There's a sixth letter, it's efficiency. Now, if we were in Great Britain where you could put an E at the end of words, we'd be golden, but now it's the subject of a lame joke that I frequently tell. Thank you for a couple of laughs. This organization was founded in 1923 in Chicago, and for the past 91 years, it has done a variety of things to try to hold government officials accountable. The current iteration of BGA investigates, litigates, educates, advocates, and communicates for better government. We look at the behavior of public officials, and we look at the policies they promulgate. And we assess them in terms of how they reflect on the use of our tax dollars and our expectation of an ethical, moral government. We decided a couple years ago as an organization to establish a BGA office in Springfield for a very simple reason. This is where the most tax dollars are spent and the biggest decisions are made, and there's always a need for more people to watch. So we partner with Illinois Times, the State Journal Register, some of the television stations. They air and print our stories. State Journal Register prints columns I write once a month. And more importantly, over the course of a couple years, we met enough people to establish a Springfield Advisory Board. It is critical that the BGA in Springfield be Springfield-centric and not Chicago-centric. So when I come down here, I take a deep breath and a couple of tranquilizers, and I do everything possible to behave in a much more civilized fashion than I do in Chicago. It's a different community. Government is a center part of your lives here. If you don't work in it or contract with it, someone you know and love or live near does. And so government has to be respected for the good it does, but held accountable for the ways in which it doesn't live up to the expectations. I have the utmost respect for government officials. 95% of them or more give us a day's work for a day's pay. They deserve fair salaries and fair benefits. But as you all know as much as I do, there has been in Illinois for far too long a ruling class of political elite that essentially saw government as a business to enrich them and their friends and families and cronies and contributors. The taxpayers and the public be damned. And that, sadly, is why we are at the edge of the fiscal and ethical cliff in this state right now. And I think that what the voters were telling all of us on November 4th is that they think it's time for someone to try to walk us back from the edge of the cliff, and that's what Bruce Rauner's campaign talked about for all that time, and what apparently the Quinn administration failed to convince people they were doing sufficiently well enough. So here we are. By way of full disclosure, Bruce was a donor to the BGA before he became a candidate. I think he may even say something nice about me and the organization, but we had no conversation about that in advance. I do know, though, that we were deeply appreciative of his support because his support was for what we do, which is the fight for better government. When he became a candidate, that ended, and he ran his campaign and reran our organization, and on several occasions we looked into things he was doing or had done and shined a light on those, as we did on Pat Quinn, and the same will be true of the Rauner administration, which offers us an incredibly exciting opportunity to right the ship of state. And so when they are doing things that fit within our mission, which I think will be frequently, we will be supportive. When they are off the deep end, we will be in their faces, and Bruce can tell you we do it both ways, and that's the way it should be. So it's with great pleasure that our third time is a charm. Thank you all for coming on this third occasion. I think the room being this full tells me that there's a huge appetite, not just in Springfield, but around the state, to hear what the plans are and to give the new gov in town a chance to lead us in the right direction. I know that Bruce is still formulating most of the specifics of the plans, so I suspect that today will be more general, but I do know that what he's been talking about in the last month and will continue to for the foreseeable future is the fiscal peril of Illinois. And so with that backdrop, I give you Governor-elect Bruce Rauner. What I should say is when Bruce is finished, he has agreed to take a few questions. I'll ask one, and then we'll take a few from the audience, but it'll only be a few because he has to get on to other things.
All right, great. Good afternoon, everybody. God bless you. Thank you for your time. I am very excited and very honored to be here. Looking forward to making this my new hometown, January 12th. I'm very excited. I'm going to be coming to you for advice. I want to know where's the best place to get a good burger, where's the best place to get a good steak, where I can run my bird dogs, where's some of the best roads to ride my Harley. I've been around here a bit on my Harley, but I got to learn the roads really well. And I need your advice because we're going to make this home. This deserves to be home. The governor should be run from here. That governor's residents should be treated with respect. We're going to fix it up, make it nice, and we're going to run the government from here. I'm very honored to do that. Now, this is a new world for me. I'm a business guy. I'm not a politician, you know. And you know what? I'm the dog that caught the car. You know what? I caught the car. And my teeth are embedded in the fender, and I'm being dragged down I-55. But you know what? This is a labor of love for me. I love Illinois. I really do. This is home. And I'm a feisty guy. And when my home's threatened, I don't run. I fight back. And I love Illinois. Raised our 6 kids here, built our businesses here. I love it. And I never want to have to leave. I never want any of you have to leave to get a better life for your families or for your careers. And that's why I decided to do this. We have every reason to thrive, every reason to be the greatest state and the greatest nation on earth. We got the hardest working families. We've got the best location. We've got the most fertile farms. We've had the best infrastructure and some of the best schools. We're letting them rot. We have the capital, the heart of the Midwest in the Chicago area. We have every reason to be kicking the tails of every other state around. Instead, they're kicking our tails. And you know what? I'm a competitive guy. I don't lose. We ain't going to lose anymore. We're not going to the bottom of the barrel. We're going to the top. And we're going to kick the tails of Indiana and Wisconsin and Iowa and Tennessee. And we're taking their, you know what? We're going to clean their clocks. Companies are coming here. They're not going there. They're coming here. We're going to get in a booming economy. And we're going to have the best schools in America. And we're going to have a government that gets the job done efficiently and provides a good social services safety net, because I believe we should have one. We shouldn't be shredding it like we've been doing for years. We can judge ourselves as a community by how well we take care of our most vulnerable citizens, our citizens in need. But we're going to do it right. We're going to do it well. But we can't pay for it unless we're a booming economy, pro-business, pro-growth, pro-free enterprise, pro-investment, pro-career creation, not just job creation. I don't want people talking about how to get to the minimum wage. I want people blowing by the minimum wage and having real careers. Top priority. We can't fix any other problem unless that's true. I'm very excited and honored to go to work. It's going to be a big team effort. I need your help. We need your input. It's going to be a big team effort. And I'm not a shoot the messenger guy. I love people who tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm missing an opportunity, and respectfully disagree with me, because I don't have all the answers. And I'm wrong a lot. My wife reminds me of that. But I need you guys. You know what? You've been through the wars. You've been through the battles. You know what's been tried, what's fails, what works, what doesn't. I need good communication. This is a partnership. I ain't doing this because I want to run for higher office. My wife would shoot me if I ran for higher office. I have no interest, and frankly, I don't want a political career. This was never my life goal. I'm not going to take a salary or a pension. I'm not doing this because I'm, some advantage. I had to walk away from my business because my business touches the state government. I had to move everything away. I walked away from you could say I'm insane. You could question my sanity. I mean, that's a legitimate question. But you know what? This is home. I'm at a stage in life where I can do this. And I'm honored to do it. To me, it's a privilege to work for the people of Illinois. I want to work for every family in this state. I'm very excited and very honored. I believe, as the Bible says, to whom much has been given, from whom much is expected in return. This is my chance to give back with my time and my abilities. I've got God-given abilities. I ain't perfect. I fail sometimes, but you know what? In the long run, I don't fail. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get it right. We got 4 years to get it right. My wife begged me. She said, Bruce, can you get the turnaround done in 4 years, please? And I said, I've got to be willing to serve for 8 years, and I will be willing to serve for 8 years if people want me to. I'm honored and excited, and I will do that. But you know, if people say, oh, you know what, that Rauner, he didn't get it right. He's the wrong guy. You're done. You know what? I ain't going to shed a tear. I'll let the voters decide. It being reelected and not on my top 10 worry list. I ain't going to make a decision based upon getting reelected. I'm going to make a decision based upon what's right for the families of Illinois for the long term. That's what's going to decide every policy and everything that we do. Now, I'll tell you, Andy's outlined it. I have been a donor, pretty meaningful donor, to the BGA in the past. And I checked with our ethics guys. And I've been a big donor to early childhood education, charter schools, teacher training, and I ain't going to change that. The fact that I'm a governor, I'm just going to acknowledge it, and I'm a believer in education quality and education reform. I'm going to keep giving to what I give to. I've been a donor for years. And if Andy will let me, I'm happy to give a lot more money to the BGA. If he doesn't want it, that's fine. But the one thing I want, though, is we need the BGA ripping holes in bad behavior in the government continuously. Because we're going to try to fix a lot as fast as we can, but let me be clear. The bureaucracy is entrenched. The special deals are entrenched. We have mostly great people in our government. I know we do. I've been meeting many of them, but we have some who aren't. We got some who are there for the wrong reasons. We got some who are engaged in bad behavior. Let's find them and expose them and get them out. And the BGA can play a major role in that. And I'm all in for that. And so, you know what, we'll figure out. I want the BGA expanded and working and exposing and writing. Because again, I'm not doing this because I want the job or I want my name in the paper. And having my name in the paper ain't good. I want the results. I want this state thriving, be the best run state in America, and we can do it. Now, obviously, right now we're in the transition mode. I'm here I've been in Springfield a fair bit in the transition. I'm excited to move in January 12th. We're trying to figure out how we're going to get the remodel done, and while I still live there, I might have to rent a house or a condo, depending on how much we have to rip up some of the work, because the place is leaking and the basement's flooding and the elevator doesn't work, and there's a lot of work, and if there's going to be a lot of dust and construction, then I'm going to have to we'll have to figure something out. I might call on somebody to give me advice on where we ought to look. My wife doesn't really want to live through it. I said, well, this place is better than my fraternity house. I'm fine. I'm fine living there, but she said no. So we got to figure that out, but we'll work on it. But we're working the transition, and we're in heavy recruiting mode. We're in heavy recruiting mode, and I don't want people who worked on our campaign just because they worked in the campaign, they're automatic. And I don't want somebody's brother-in-law. I want somebody who's talented. We need talented people back in the government who are there for the right reasons and have deep expertise in healthcare or in education or in agriculture, et cetera. And if you've got folks, folks, we need the introductions. I want to bring super talented people back to Springfield. I want the government moving back to Springfield, and I want talented people running the government with deep expertise. So if your help, your recommendations, your introductions would be deeply appreciated. Now, right now, we're focused very much on the financial condition of the state and the budget. That's what everybody wants to talk about, and that's lovely. I'm going to focus on the budget, but I'm also going to focus on long-term structural change so we can get away from these structural deficits. I don't want to only talk about what's the Band-Aid, what's the short-term fix to our budget hole. That's lovely, we're going to talk about that, but we're really going to talk about the long-term structural change so we're a prosperous state and we don't have these. I've looked for a balanced budget in Illinois. I can't find one. I look back the last 20 years. I can't find one. I mean, if you know a year where we were truly balanced, I mean, we put in a pension ramp to kick the can down the road. We didn't pay our bills. When I explain what we've gone on in Illinois to my fellow governors, they're stunned. They're stunned. They say, really? You just don't pay your bills? And I said, no, we don't pay our bills. They say you put in an appropriation and you got no revenue for it? No. Hey, borrowing's revenue. I mean, that's, in Illinois, borrowing's revenue. I mean, they're appalled. And I don't know, I'm only from Illinois. I mean, but I'm studying what other states do with Mitch Daniels and Scott Walker and Rick Snyder and John Kasich and Jeb Bush and Bobby Jindal. They're all personal friends of mine. They've all been coaching me, and I've been studying what they do. They do it pretty different than we do it. I tell you, they really do. And we got to change and start to do things the right way. It's going to take a little while. It's going to be a little bit painful. And some folks are going to be pretty cranky with me for a while, but that's okay. I ain't doing this to be a popularity contest. We got to do what's right for the long term. And I need your help to sort this out. Now, we've got a budget team working the budgets. That's why today I'm here. We're going to be meeting with our budget team after this lunch. Then I'm meeting with some more state legislators, and I'm meeting with some candidates for some of our positions. And I'll be back many times in the future. I'm trying to get to know every member of the General Assembly personally. And I've called them all, or everybody who will give me their cell phones. There's a couple, they won't give me their cell number, but call them all, and I've met with 100 and, I don't even know, huge fraction of the 177 that we've got. And I want to get to know them all, because we're elected to do a job. We're elected to get results. We got into this mess on a bipartisan basis. We're going to get out of this mess on a bipartisan basis. And we're going to work together. I don't care what party you're in. I want to talk about solutions. Long run to help the families of Illinois have a better future, so the American dream's alive. Every generation better off in Illinois than the last generation. That's always got to be our guiding principle. So we're focused on the budget in the next couple hours, and I'll tell you, the more we look, the more we peel back the onion, the uglier it is. You know, most of you wouldn't be surprised by that. I'm not surprised. We talked, I think a couple of my visits ago, I talked about there's $1.4 billion of accounting shenanigans where there's short-term borrowing, $650 million. There's expenses that are supposed to be, that in this fiscal year got accounted for last fiscal year, so it could make that, they could not pay down unpaid bills last year, instead allocate the expense to it, and then make it look like there was less expense this year. Bunch of baloney. And they took $40 million of expenses that were actually accrued this year, and they're just going to call them for next fiscal year. There's just accounting shenanigans. And what we've learned here in recent days, and I'm here to get some more of the detail on, there's $760 million of I guess I'm learning the lingo, supplemental appropriations about to be requested. And as I'm a business guy, I'm not a political guy. So what does that mean? What's a supplemental appropriation? That means they want to spend a lot more than budget. And what we've learned is these department heads were told to submit some low number in the budget. The budget doesn't really mean anything. Put in a low number. Spend how you want to spend. Don't worry about your budget. And then we'll deal with it after the election. Come on. For $760 million. Where now they're saying, oh, it's after the election, so now we're calling in a chit. We want the money now. Where's it coming from? Nobody's, it's wherever. I guess there's more. That's going to be more unpaid bills. I guess I haven't heard what they've set us up with. $760 million. They were told to submit a low number and then just keep spending above it. And they've been spending above their budget number through the whole fiscal year. It's just wrong. It's dishonest with the taxpayers, with the families of the state. It's just dishonest. We've got to stop that. And as in the coming weeks, as we go deeper and deeper, I think we're going to find more. I'm sure of it. But this is one I want to get to the bottom of, which departments and how much and why. But $760 million so far. And most of them have said that it was intentionally misleading to the process. It was intentionally dishonest. That was what the decision-making process was. And it's disgusting, it's wrong. The families of Illinois have been lied to. And we're not going to do that anymore. And I've got to get in there and expose more and get into the detail of it. The bottom line is this government can be run right. It can be run right. The people of Illinois deserve that. And we have got to fix the core problem so the structural deficit isn't there. Short-term borrowing and Band-Aids, we'll get through this budget hole right now, this short-term one. The critical thing is that we make the structural reform. We take on the core processes in the government and the structure of the government, the cost structure of the government, so we get away from these long-term structural deficits and we have long-term balanced budgets. We have got to do that. Tax code overhaul, and structural cost basis of the government, redo it so it's affordable. We're not getting value for our taxpayers today. We are not. That's what's crystal clear. Our taxpayers are being abused. We are not getting value, and that's going to change. So we're going to talk about the policies we're going to put in place. We've got big changes, a bold agenda coming. We're formulating our plans. Many of you, I'd like your input, your feedback, your involvement. This is going to be a big partnership, and it's going to be a big, Real big change always causes, anxiety. There's going to be a lot of pushback on it, but that's okay. We've got to do it. We just got to do it. We got to do the right thing for the long run. I'm committed to that. And in the coming weeks, we'll be finishing our homework, explaining more of what we found, and then together we'll be talking about the long-term structural solutions, structural change to get through this. The key issue, and here's the bottom line, we have got to become a growth state again. We are not a growth state. We're at the bottom of the barrel, bottom by 5, pace of job creation, pace of economic growth, and pace of development. Our debts are going up. Our economic activity is going flat, and it doesn't work. Failure with the only answer to our problems, the only way to fund our schools properly, and I'm all in for more school funding. Education's the most important thing we do. The only way to fix our pension debt and pay it down over time, the only way to get pay for a good social services safety net is to have a strong, vibrant, really booming economy. That's the only way. And today, we're hostile to business. Our regulatory climate and our tax climate is hostile to business, and as long as we're hostile to business, we are not going to fix any of our other problems. We're going to change it. There's going to be pushback. Some of the special interest groups that like the status quo or like have business community be their opponent, we're going to have to take them on. And we have a plan for that. I'm not going to outline it today, but we have a plan for taking that on. It's a big challenge, big change, but we're going to do it. And it's going to be done bipartisan. I've met many members of the General Assembly realize this, and I've talked to them a bit about it. They get where we need to go. Some of them are swallowing hard and a little worried about it, but we've got to protect and support the office holders who stick their neck out and take tough votes, and we've got to let the folks know who are going to fight reform and are in the hip pocket of the special interest groups that like the decline of Illinois, are making their money during the decline of Illinois. We're going to take them on. And we're going to let them know that we're going to take them on. It's going to be, it's a big challenge, big battles, but we're going to do it. So I'm honored, I'm excited, I'm humbled. This is a big turning point in Illinois' history. You guys are all part of it. Thank you for letting me be part of it. Thank you for letting me become your neighbor. I'm looking forward to working with you, getting to know many of you in person. And my wife and I want to be great members of the community here. We want to be very involved in the community here. We've always done that wherever we've lived, and I've lived pretty much my entire life in Illinois. But I look forward to being great community members here with you in Springfield, and helping bring back the economic vitality of Central Illinois in a big way. So thank you. God bless you. I appreciate it very much.
So I'll ask you 2 quick questions and let the audience ask you a couple. Historically, one of a governor's best allies can be a controller who basically has his or her hands on the purse strings of the state and can be very valuable in the process of fixing what you say you want to fix. The unfortunate death of Judy Bar-Topinka leaves a vacancy, and there's a lot of conversation about process. I just have a very simple question. Why are you arguing for a 4-year appointment rather than a special election after 2 years?
Well, I'll say a couple things. First, I think we should get through tomorrow before we talk a lot more about this. Tomorrow is a time to mourn Judy's passing and to celebrate her life. She became a dear friend for me, and I just want to show respect to her. And so I don't want to get into a whole lot of, I've tried to avoid the fighting about this, but we keep getting, people keep wanting to go talk about it. Let me say something about Judy. She was a true public servant, and she cared deeply about the families of Illinois. And she worked on a bipartisan basis to try to solve problems. And God bless her. She's a role model for all of us. And to me, it was an honor to. And I'll try just very briefly to give an answer to the question. The governor, I believe Governor Quinn has the right to appoint today, an interim comptroller. That comptroller is pretty clear to me, serves through January 12th, and then the new governor has the legal authority, from everything we can tell, to appoint new comptroller, and there's no reason that should only have to be a 2-year term. It's a 4-year term, and there's no reason that we see why it should be anything other than that. So. And I made my recommendation. Obviously, Governor Quinn should do what he feels is right. I think it should be done quickly, and there should be continuity, and also should honor and respect Judy's family to have Nancy Kimmy do an interim service. She's chief of staff. She knows the process. She could quick step in. There's no loss of process, and that's an easy decision. In my mind, that would be quick and easy. It's Governor Quinn's call. That's not my call.
Okay, and back to the budget, a quick question, something that I've asked many times. We have had a failure of leadership in the state with respect to the long-term solutions. Everything seems to be piecemeal, short-term, in political interest. Is it or is it not time to perhaps bring together a brain trust of business and labor and politics and academia and civic leaders, bring them down to this mansion if there's not too much dust or someplace else, and sit people down for a weekend with all the data you need on jobs and budgets and taxation and states that do it right, and try to see if you can't come to at least some rough consensus of what a 10-year plan ought to look like, or are you going to be able to do this just within your own little inner circle? I'm just wondering, I mean, you could do it anyway, but how do you come up with the long-term plan when it's pretty complicated?
No, we'll be doing a variation of exactly what you just said. We'll be developing our own thoughts and recommendations from our homework, but then I'll be engaged with the legislature. They've got to be partners in this, and I'll lead, and as many of them said, Bruce, as long as you take the arrows and take the heat, we'll take some votes to get you most of it. I'm fine with that. I'll take all the heat. I'll take all the arrows. And I'm happy to give credit for the happy news that comes out of this to somebody else because I don't really care. And I'll take all that, with anything that's bad in it, put it on me. Blame me. I got no problem with that. I ain't doing this because I just want the solution. That's all I care about. So will we get business leaders and labor leaders and folks from all over the state involved in the process? Absolutely. And we've got a lot of that going on in our transition teams right now. We're developing our strategy in agriculture, in education, in economic development, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to expand that and be inclusive. Now, what I don't want to do is create more councils and boards and task forces because we have, I don't remember the number, 830 of them or something? 300
plus boards and commissions.
Okay, yeah, well, there's some other categories I think you're missing. But
7,000 units of government.
Well, 7,000 units of government, and we have, and 720 special funds. We have 720 little, or some not so little, special purpose funds. No other state has that.
Hey, Cook County has 4 mosquito abatement districts.
We are government happy. I mean, and the reality is, we need government. Government has an important role, but it should be efficient and should be effective, and it doesn't need these layers and all these groups. So I don't want to create another council and another, let's actually cut those in half. We might have a short-term task force, but it goes away. I've said from right in the beginning of this race, we've got to change the nature. We have the highest real estate tax burden on our families of any state in America, us in New Jersey. Tied, basically, for the brutally highest property taxes. It's crushing our homeowners. I've had many families, as I've traveled the state in the campaign, tell me they're on fixed income or limited income. They have to sell their house. They can't afford the real estate taxes anymore. That ain't right. And to deal with it I can't fix that whole problem just at the state level. We need to deal with the local governments. And I've talked with many mayors and many county chairmen, and we are going to form a task force. It's going to be short-term, a task force between the governor's office, a few of the legislators, mayors from around the state, and county chairmen from around the state, and a few school superintendents from around the state. I want to get in a room, and all of us stop going like this, and all of us start going like this, and let's solve the problem of unfunded mandates and restrictions and decisions getting made at the local level that are causing the state spending to go through the roof, and decisions being made by the state that are forcing more costs and more government waste and spending at the local level. We can do it. We can streamline that process. And I've said that to the mayors. Every mayor I've said it to, count me in, Bruce, I want to be on that task force. And here's my first 10 recommendations. They all have some very specific and the unfunded mandates and the regulations. And I've got a lot of buddies in local government who supported us in this race, but who, they'll admit, and I said to them, guys, you've put your cost cutting on the backs of the state taxpayers because you've said whenever you want to, cut costs, you lay somebody off or put them into early retirement and then put them into the pension. So dump it off in the state taxpayers when you want to cut your local costs. Cut a salary at your level, jack up the pension costs at the state level. That's been going on all over the place. And there's more and more of that around. And we gotta deal with that. We gotta put the responsibility where the accountability and the control is. And we'll do it. That ain't rocket science.
Okay, so a couple questions. Let's over here.
I'll start.
Maybe identify yourself. That would probably be helpful.
Ready? Ready now? Can you hear me now? Hello. Okay. Hello, Governor-elect. I'm P.J. Staub. I live about 5 blocks down your alley to the south.
All right.
So when you
I'll
move
walk
in,
my dogs right by there.
we've got that. Just bring your pooper scooper with you. But anyway, I was over in the Amish community about a month or so ago, and one of the things they said to me, I said, I'll probably have an opportunity to talk to Bruce Rauner directly. And they said, would you take this message to him? And this was the Amish community. His name is Howard Miller, and his son Olin live on a small farm, about 25 acres. They can barely afford the real estate tax. They're wondering if there would be the possibility of a tax cap like Indiana,
Yep.
because a lot of these Amish workers are going back to Indiana and taking their trades and their gifts that they have to bring to our community back to Indiana. That's one thing. Then I wanted to tell you I was a neighbor, number 2. And one of the largest assets that we have in the state, in my opinion, is the untapped historical relevance of Illinois to the nation. We have the president here.
Absolutely.
We've got the reenactment coming out next year.
Absolutely.
And I've got a letter to give you when I leave, because I've got a 1 o'clock appointment to go to that. And I just wanted to get this in, so I'll have a letter to give to you as I leave. And I guess that's about it, but there's not even a question in this whole thing, was there?
Well, you raised 2 important points, and let me hit them. First of
Thanks
all,
much.
I am a big advocate for tourism and visitors. We have unlocked potential as a tourist destination here in Illinois, and Springfield and Central Illinois especially has untapped potential as a tourist destination. And I want to be very aggressively focused on that. I want to enhance the offerings we do have and bring other offerings to Springfield and drive a major tourism growth here in Central Illinois. There's big opportunity. I chaired the Tourism Bureau in Chicago, Convention and Tourism Bureau, for 3 years before I decided to run for office. Chicago was not playing at its level at all on tourism. It was performing very poorly. We put in a new staff, new board, new marketing plan, and today Chicago is one of the fastest growing tourist destinations in the United States. And we've started to grow again in Illinois as a state, but we can do a lot more, and I'll get that booming. Number 2, and this is critically important, yes, I strongly support caps or freezes on property taxes, and that was part of our campaign platform. We're going to do it, but we've got to do it with enabling and empowering local governments to control their costs. Today, a lot of their costs, the local governments are not empowered to control. And special interest groups have bought off a lot of the politicians to keep the spending going up, and we're going to change that. And they'll put a freeze in, and we'll make our property taxes reasonable again. We're not going to have the lowest in America. It's not going to happen. But we're not going to have the highest anymore. And here's a critical thing. I want us to have a reasonable tax burden. We don't have to have zero income tax like some of my friends want to advocate. We don't have to have that. But it should be flat, level, fair, pretty low. Because I believe we should have a good social services safety net for our neediest citizens. We don't have to have zero taxes. We don't have the lowest taxes in America, but we need to be competitive on our taxes. And we need to grow our way out of our problem. And today, we're not competitive.
Okay, Victoria, you had a question?
I do. Welcome to downtown Springfield, Governor-elect Rauner. My name is Victoria Ringer. I'm the Executive Director of Downtown Springfield, Inc. And I did a little research on my own, and not just anecdotal research, but 2,600 jobs have left the downtown area in the last 10 years because of state government moving.
Yeah.
When I worked for the state of Illinois, probably 20,000 plus workers were here in Springfield. Currently, on the books are 17,000 in Cook County and 13 in Sangamon County, which we believe in Springfield that needs to change. It has impacted our economy. It just entirely too much, and we hope that not only will you bring your family, but you will bring the jobs back to Springfield, and I hope we can count on that.
Yep. As I've been clear, I said it earlier, I've said it for many months, I believe that the government should be primarily in Springfield, that I can't tell you exact numbers and timing in which departments. We got to work all that out. I love your recommendations. We're going to be working on it, but this is where the government should be based, and this is our state capital. We should treat it with respect and pride, and the center of the state is it's here for a reason. I mean, we should be a government for the entire state. We're not a state government for one region of the state or one county of the state. We're for the entire state. That's a big deal to me. I want to work for everybody, and I want to work for every family.
Let's take a couple more questions, and then we'll let Mr. Rauner go back to work. Let's see. Let's go over to the side there. Woman, yeah.
Hello, Governor Rauner. My name's Kimberly Bush, and during your campaign, you made several less than complimentary comments about the aviation in Illinois, about flying around in jet planes, governors flying around in jet planes.
Oh,
And I believe that possibly you've been guilty of a little bit of that yourself. My understanding is that aviation is approximately a $13 billion contributor to the state of Illinois. Been several questions over the past few years about the state fleet. Do you plan to make changes in the state fleet?
yeah. The short answer is yes. I've said it very clearly in the campaign. We should not have the largest state government fleet of planes in America.
And then as a follow-up, I just wanted to let you know I'm Episcopal too. Really nice Cathedral Church of St. Paul down at 2nd and Lawrence.
Appreciate it.
Come on down and see us anytime.
I appreciate that. I look forward to that. Yeah, I've got a very interesting religious background. So my dad's family, German Catholic, came here in 1854 to Illinois. We're corn farmers. My mom's family, Swedish Lutheran, dairy farmers. My grandparents were dairy farmers and corn farmers, lived in a little double-wide trailer, spoke more Swedish than English. But my parents argued about it when I was young. I'm the oldest of four, and I was raised Episcopalian as a compromise between Lutheran and Catholic. And I ain't making that up. And you raise an important point. I have flown a bit. I don't own a jet. I'm one of the few, the only guy in my old firm that didn't have. I'm cheap. I do drive. I am going to drive a lot. I don't think the taxpayers should be funding that big, large fleet. I just think it's self-indulgent and not unnecessary. We'll talk about how we make the government efficient in transit back and forth between Springfield and Chicago, because that is important, because there can be some cost savings and some strategic advantage. We'll figure that out. But I've said from day one, we've got to be responsive to the taxpayers, and having the largest fleet in America does not make sense.
Someone on this side? Is it possible you've answered every question they could have possibly asked?
It looks like
I'm going to resist asking another one.
There's 4 or 5 out there.
Okay, good. You have to walk back.
You can yell if you want. I got good ears.
Well, it'll help. Oh, and can I say before you ask the question that I committed one cardinal sin? I forgot to thank our friends at WMAY and my colleague Jim Leach. They're broadcasting this live for the WMAY audience. And so everything you've said here in this room has been amplified to whatever crowd is listening at this hour. We thank you at WMAY, our good partners of the BGA. And with that, I'll let you ask the next question. I think they need the audio on mic so that it goes into the radio.
Got it.
Hi, Governor-elect. My name is Brian Reardon. I'm with Hospital Sisters Health System. Was wondering, with Medicaid being such a large chunk of the state budget, do you envision any major overhaul of our Medicaid program?
It's a great question. It is a huge part of our state budget. I am a strong believer in a good Medicaid program and health care provision to our most in-need families. I strongly support it. But we also need to make sure that it is efficient, effective, and does not have waste and fraud in it. And from what I've learned in the last couple of years is our Medicaid system needs some improvement. I don't have recommendations that I'll make today, but I'd like to assemble a talented team that really knows Medicaid, really knows health care service provision in Illinois. I'd love to get you part of it if you or some of your partners have an interest. I want to make sure we look everywhere in the program, make sure it's very effective, very efficient, and we're providing services the right way to the right people. And that it's a good program, and I'm supportive of the program. I'm not looking for massive shrinking or reduction of it at all, but I'm looking to make sure that the waste and fraud is dealt with, and we have a very good, effective program.
Two more? One more? Okay. Bethany, where are you? You're wandering around. So you pick the last one, and if anybody's mad, they'll be mad at you. Okay, one more. Looks like a former mayor of this town and a good friend of the BGA.
Thank you very much. Governor to be Rauner, I'd be interested in your thoughts about the possibility of abolishing the Controller's Office as Judy Bartopinka wanted to do. Would you be interested in looking at that over the next few years?
The answer is yes. In fact, I've stated early in our campaign, that's one of our policy positions. I think that's probably a consolidation that would make sense. I think it's a mistake to get caught up in fighting about that now, where there's a process in place. We should honor that process, but I think we should look at consolidation in that office and frankly in some others.
Thank you very much.
All right, let me just, so on behalf of the BGA and the Springfield Advisory Board, I still call him BR because he's not governor yet. As of January 12th, he is officially governor, but until then, he's BR. He's going to go next door and take some questions from the media in what we finally refer to as a gaggle. That's the family-friendly term for it. I won't tell you what we call it behind the scenes, but my colleagues know. Listen, BR, thank you very much for joining us. I think you shed a lot of light on where things are going, if not with the absolute specificity you'll eventually have, then at least I think what people came here for was to sort of see the passion and the intent. Let me just say this, as the Better Government Association, you can only run an organization like this with a certain passion for the cause. I feel like we work for 13 million Illinois residents too in shining that light and holding officials accountable. And so to hear someone come and say it's not about the perks, it's not about the benefits, it's not about the money, it's about trying to basically give 13 million Illinois residents the best run government in America, that's got to be very encouraging. I'm sorry to say that despite your generous offer, we will not be able to take any more contributions from you because we have to hold you accountable too. And if we took your money, that would be suspect. But we will watch closely, and we will have your back when you're doing the right things, and we will stay in the faces of those who aren't, as you suggested. And the only request I make as you head out of here is, when you do have a budget that you're ready to deliver, and you do know with more specificity what this big long-term direction is going to be, will you at least tentatively agree to come back to a group like this here and discuss that once more when there's a little more specificity? Mike, I won't hold you to it if it doesn't fit in the schedule, but I'm just saying if it works out.
So AS, as I call you too,
There's just one S, I remind you, just one. And my middle name is not Stephen, it's Charles.
I'm not a politician. I'm not going to make you promise I won't deliver. So I'm not going to promise that. I will come in the process and get you engaged. And I do genuinely want to say thank you to the BGA. Stay tenacious. Stay a bulldog. Your work can help us have a better government, and I'm all in with you. And I want to say thank you to every one of you in this room. I'm honored. I want to go to work with you. Let's bring back the pride in our great state. Let's bring back the prosperity in our great state. This is home. God bless you. Let's make our home better. I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.